Hello, folks. Todd Halleck here today. Wanting to talk to you a little bit about premarital agreements or prenuptial agreements and how they are used as an estate planning tool. Um, it is not uncommon. In fact, it happens probably in just about every meeting I have with a husband and wife, that the question comes up: what will happen if my spouse remarries? While there's some things we can do in the estate plan to help protect the deceased spouse's share of the estate, um, the best thing and the best advice that I would give people is, if you're going to remarry, make sure you have a prenuptial agreement in place. Prenuptial agreements can be a bit tricky to get. There's a lot of emotions tied up with asking your intended to execute a prenuptial agreement. Certainly, in many states, postnuptial agreements are also enforceable, but if a prenup is hard to get, a postnup is really hard to get. And so getting that prenuptial agreement in place prior to the remarriage is crucial in making sure that your wishes will be honored in terms of your estate planning. The prenuptial agreement, many people think, kind of control the estate plan, and it really does, but only in the sense that the prenuptial agreement sets the floor, and below that you can't leave less than that to the new spouse. So many states, including the states I'm licensed in, have what's called the spousal elective share. That's a mathematical formula that the surviving spouse, doesn't really matter how long they've been married, can elect, in addition to any other exemptions, to receive regardless of what the estate plan says. And so if you're going to go below that threshold, you really need a prenuptial agreement in place that says, I don't have to leave my new spouse anything, or this is all I'm going to leave my new spouse. It sets the floor. If the floor is set and you decide to go above that, meaning it says I don't have to leave my new spouse anything, but you decide to leave them a share of the estate, that's going to be fine, but you just can't go below what you've agreed to with your spouse. You want that, it is prenuptial, so you want it signed before the marriage takes place. It needs to be done with full disclosure of debts and assets. And we highly recommend that both parties be represented by independent attorneys to make sure that there's no question that the spouses who are signing this document understand, and it's a knowing and voluntary waiver. So that prenuptial agreement, even though it can maybe sometimes get a bad rap as not being trusting and those sorts of things, really is an important tool to make sure that we don't have the potential for a collateral attack of your estate planning documents. Worse than that is if you don't even do anything, a court could actually say that not only do we have a spousal elective share potential, but we also have what we call a pretermitted spouse or forgotten spouse. And so now that spouse is going to get an intestate share, which could be 50% or more of the estate. So that prenuptial agreement, that premarital agreement, is key if you're going to get remarried, and there's just no substitute for it. In addition to that, like I said before, sometimes it can be hard to approach the prospective new spouse about this, and so including things in your trust, for the original husband and wife, things to the effect of, if the surviving spouse doesn't execute the prenuptial agreement protecting the estate, he or she can potentially lose their rights to the deceased spouse's share of the estate. And there's different ways that we can try to accomplish that, but it can give that spouse some cover in trying to acquire that prenuptial agreement. So if you're going to get remarried, there's just no reason not to get a prenuptial agreement. It will protect you, it will protect your deceased spouse, and it'll protect your family from claims that you're not expecting. So as always, if you have concerns about this, talk to a qualified attorney who understands these things, understands the laws of the state where you live. We hope you enjoyed this message and that you found it useful.